I just stuck a bull. This bull has been sounding gnarly, nasty. On my right, there's two bulls fighting. I can see them going, their bodies moving back and forth between the trees. And then all of a sudden I hear this. There's another bull right there. Walking through his aspens.
I shot him. You didn't hear that?
No. We both just shot the same bull.
You shot him first.
He shot him first. Oh my gosh. What a heck of a pursuit, dude. All freaking day.
When your buddy calls you, says you got a buck down. And what does he got? A buck down.
Look what I found.
What a sweet coos, man. Opening day, heck yeah. Way to go, Steve.
Arizona Archery Club is a premier partner with Bowhunting AZ. When it comes to attention to detail and a fiery passion, Arizona Archery Club brings it all to the table. With all the latest bows and archery equipment, you can demo every single model in person, free of charge at their demo room. Walk through the process with an experienced bow tech and see which bow is right for you without the sales pressure. Their indoor archery range offers air-conditioned lanes with standard or 3D targets available. When you visit, be sure to mention you're a listener to the Bowhunting AZ podcast. Let's all support local. Conquering your own dark mountain is no easy task. The backcountry requires grit and determination. Having quality supplements like Dark Mountain's Kodiak pre-workout, whey proteins, and nourishing recovery are all an essential part of your success in the journey to harvest from the land. Dark Mountain is a 2% for conservation company because they know that with a collective effort, we can cherish these resources for a long time to come. Use promo code BowhuntingAZ20 for 20% off your order. Afflictor broadheads are cutting to the core of broadhead technology. With both expandable hybrids and fixed broadheads, you have an arsenal available for any hunting need. Team Bowhunting AZ has placed our trust in Afflictor as our exclusive broadheads to hunt with. Check out Afflictor's selection over at afflictorbroadheads.com. Having equipment you can count on is essential, especially in the raw elements. SpyPoint brings technology and dependability to the forefront of the hunting industry with their buck tracker detection technology. Trail cams are an essential way for hunters to understand and learn how our harvest behaves in their habitat. Visit spypoint.com today and see the difference for yourself. Too many of us feel at a loss when it comes to storing or displaying our bows. Rax has the answer. With many of the major bow brands available or even the option to have your own custom racks made. This is hands down the only way to show off your setup. I even prefer to have a mini racks for my Euro mounts. Made in the US out of carbon steel, racks and mini racks secure into your wall and offer padded hooks to give your bow the perfect spot where it's out of the way but easy to access. Check out racks and use promo code PASSION15 to get 15% off your order. Visit raxinc.com. That's RAXXINC.com today. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Bowhunting AZ podcast. On today's episode, I'm interviewing Jason Miller of Jason Miller Outdoors. Jason is one of the leading authorities on trail cam strategies, and capturing behavior of our native Arizona species. When it comes to photos and videos of animals doing what they do, more often than not, it's Jason's cameras capturing the events. Today I take a deep dive with Jason into how he's evolved in the trail cam game since we last talked on the podcast in June of 2019. We also cover his upcoming spring bear hunt and the infamous relationship that he has with an absolute tank of a bear named Kong.
Hey, Jason, welcome back, man. It's good to have you back on the Bowhunting AZ podcast, brother. First off, huge congrats to you on becoming a grandfather. I seen that you posted a couple pictures of your granddaughter so far, man. She's beautiful, and that's got to be an awesome adventure to be going on right now.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's my very first granddaughter, a grandchild, and yeah, cloud nine.
Absolutely,
cloud
man.
nine.
That's awesome, dude. Hey, so you've got a spring bear tag around the corner, I believe, don't you?
Yeah, it starts in May and goes till the end of July. I do one of 20 tags in 34A.
Nice. For those of you who haven't been following Jason or his trail cam adventures, Jason has a long history with a specific bear named Kong. How long have you been watching Kong for, do you think?
Almost 2 years. The funny thing is, he showed up almost 2 years ago, and it's almost like every trail I pick, he shows up, almost like he's following me. It's really strange, but he's never messed with my cameras. And I've also got him with, I call them his girlfriends, a few different females on certain trails. He'll follow and walk right behind them, in front of my cameras. So yeah, it's been kind of a relationship, and I did make him famous.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's got a lot of attention, and every time you post something and the word Kong shows up, people definitely flock to whatever content that is, for sure. Are you specifically planning on targeting Kong for that hunt? Is it an archery or rifle?
When I first got him, I didn't have the archery tag. I just had that spring. Actually, it was the fall rifle. It was the fall archery hunt, which is difficult in the area I see him in. And then the following spring, I tried him with a rifle. Never found him. And then once again, I didn't get that summer tag last year. So this year I've got it. But, to be honest with you, to get that tag and to go after a bear with a bow, I'll sell for anything. It would be awesome to get him because he's huge. I've never seen a bear that big. But he's more famous for me, in my eyes, with my cameras. If he came across, while I was hunting him, sure, I wouldn't pass on him. But, I've never shot anything I've gotten on trail cameras, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I'd absolutely love to get him, but I'm not holding out for him or anything like that. No.
Yeah. Do you think in the back of your mind, do you think there'd be any part of you that would miss watching him on your cams if you actually harvested him? Like later on, do you think you'd miss seeing him from time to time? Or would you just be so pumped that you actually harvested him and had him, at home, did a mount or Euro or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if I did see him while I was hunting, spring or fall, whatever, or the summer hunt, I don't know what would happen. I don't know if I would not shoot him because I'd be in awe because I'm actually seeing him with my two eyes instead of on the cameras.
Right.
I don't know. It might hit me. How some people follow a buck and find a buck and they can't wait for the hunting season. When it comes around, they have the opportunity. They just don't shoot it. That might happen to me. I don't know. It's hard enough trying to shoot a bear with a bow, let alone someone, a bear that's famous
right.
and as big as him. So I don't know what'll happen if it ever does happen. And I haven't got him on camera yet this spring. I'm hoping he's still around. He's definitely the dominant bear in that area.
Sure.
Until I see him, he may have moved off. He may have been shot by some other hunter last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll know soon though, because usually I'll get the boars first, and I'll get the dominant bear in the area where I hunt on cameras first, and then they'll start showing up over and over and over with females and other smaller boars. So if he's still around, he'll probably be the first one to show up this spring.
Okay. You would think too, a bear as unique as he is in size and everything, if someone harvested him, you'd most likely see him across social media somewhere anyhow.
Yeah. In fact, last year in the fall, I got a tip that there was a houndsman in that area. And I was still getting Kong on my cameras there. And oh my God, I was scared to death. I was so afraid because with dogs, they're going to find him. And I found out later that the houndsman, I think, treated a small sow, and they let it pass. And they went in there 2 or 3 times, and they never got Kong or a bear that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
So he's smart.
Sure.
How he eluded, hounds, I don't know. In fact, it was like 3 or 4 days later after the hounds I last heard that they were in there, I got them on my cam again. So I got some relief, after that. Like I said, I don't know if I could even shoot him if I see him. I say that, but I don't know because, I'll be honest with you, ever since I started doing trail cams, I didn't do it for hunting purposes. And they haven't really benefited me in the sense of hunting. Honestly, if they did, everything would be dead. If it was that easy getting on trail cams and then you shoot them, it's not like that. But I actually do the trail cams for the pics and videos of the animals. But in regards to hunting, they haven't benefited me. So I'm not holding my breath in the sense of seeing him and getting him just because of that reason.
Yeah. For this hunt that that you have coming up here, what do you think will be your strategy for the hunt? I mean, do you have most of these bears patterned, or does it start off as just a glassing game for you? And then will you hunt like an ambush style, or do you think it's more of a spot and stalk?
Yeah, I don't glass when I hunt. I work trails. It's definitely ambush. I'm pretty much a 100% bow hunter now. I love sneaking up, tracking, and hunting that way for all the animals I hunt. That's just my preference. There's nothing against glassing and, do it other ways. That's just what I prefer.
Yeah.
But I'll probably work trails that run to water because my hunt starts in May. And I'm probably not going to go till June because it's going to be so hot. And I know water is going to be big issue then, unless we keep getting rains, because we've had a lot of rain this spring so far, or late winter into spring. But probably trails to water. That's what I'm going to concentrate on because they love the water. And I know that from the last couple of years of getting them with pools, springs. I never go to water holes because those get hit by other hunters. Then you got cattle, and then it's just, you get more traffic there. So springs that are hidden and pools that are in creeks that you find from hiking up on, up in them, those are dynamite for a lot of game. And that's where I get a lot of my game picks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I've started transitioning a little. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just places that are hit, that the everyday hunter doesn't come across. Those are places I look for.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I've started transitioning too to springs as I've discovered them more and more, and kind of doing that stuff. It seems like they're tucked away a little bit more. They're more off the grid, and you have a higher chance of, getting less foot traffic by humans. So obviously you're going to see more animals there.
Yes. And believe it or not, I feel my spots aren't far from roads or, accessed by people. There are a lot of places that people overlook, but they're close.
Yeah.
I can hear cars driving by, and then, in these areas where I put my cams, and, lo and behold, I got lions and bears walking through there all the time. And I'm like, wow, I'm not far from a dirt road, but a lot of people think you need to go real remote. A lot of my places aren't. I mean, I do have some places that, take a good hike to get into. Mm-hmm. But most of them are easy access, and they're just places people overlook.
That's funny. I see a lot of people that are hardcore into you've got to go way, way deep. And I've done that. In fact, we did it recently. Jake and I both did for hunting. We thought, okay, we'll go super deep. We're going to find big giant bucks where no humans are. And we spent, half the morning hiking in, and we saw nothing, absolutely nothing. And we were so far back, and I'm like, gee, I have another spot that's next to a road, and I have animals all day long. And so it's just kind of an overlooked spot that nobody would guess. And, there's tons of traffic there, but we went, and I'm not saying that there aren't, big animals in a remote place, but, yeah, it's funny. Right. It's funny. It's kind of a little bit of both.
I've got a place, 4 years I found. It's a hell of a hike way up in this canyon. It's dark, bunch of pools up there, and it's a killer to get up in there. And I saw some cams up in there, and I thought, wow, this is a place you're going to find a jaguar or, a monster cave bear that, no one knows about because it's so remote. And I placed a bunch of cameras up there, me and a buddy, and I called it Jurassic Park because it's way out in the middle of, no man's land. And we would go up and check our cams every couple of weeks, and it was, like I said, it was a killer hike, and we dreaded it, but we look forward to the pictures, so it was worth it. And what I found was the beginning where I parked, within a mile of where I parked, I got just as much game lower than I did way up in the up in the top there, the Jurassic Park place. And to me, it just wasn't worth the hike because I was getting the same, if not better, way lower. That was a quarter of the hike, and it doesn't make sense.
Sure. Yeah, it's funny because you would think that the deeper you go, the better it would be, but it's not always the case. I don't know why.
Right.
For bears, are you typically day hunting or do you backpack in and camp, kind of more in the backcountry, even if it's a little bit of a shallower hike or anything like that? What do you typically do?
Yeah, I try to take somebody with me, especially bow hunting.
Sure. Yeah.
It's kind of spooky bow hunting bear, especially if, you run into, the bears the size of Kong. No, it's somewhere, I'll camp as close as I can, hike in, do the day hunt, sit from dusk to dawn, morning till evening, and then go back to camp or do day trips, depending on what area I go to. Day trips are for more remote areas. Closer areas are for camping, but I usually don't go alone when I bear hunt with bow. Yeah.
Same here. If I ever do go by myself, I'm usually by myself during the day, but then more towards the evening, I usually have someone that'll come out and join me in the evening, usually at least. So,
or I'll call a couple guys and say, look, if I get one towards dark, could you come out and help me, go track it and this and that. I'm not, trying to sound like a wuss, but I'll tell you what, to have a bow and shoot a bear, and tracking it at night, it's just, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna have backup. Somebody with me. Not only that, an extra pair of eyes, and you can never be too careful.
No, yeah, and you've got lions and all sorts of other stuff out there. And I mean, if you've got fresh, a fresh kill, and I'm sure there's other things out there that notice it. So yeah, it's always a good idea.
Yeah. What
types of food sources do the bears utilize down in your neck of the woods? I mean, is it pretty much, typical throughout the state, you think? Or is what's unique down in your area that you notice they eat a lot?
There's some prickly pear, but I think from what I've seen, it's all juniper berries and manzanitas.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a huge spread of the state has those juniper berries and the manzanitas, definitely. So, I mean, you can pretty much go anywhere and find that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of prickly pear where I'm at. If there was, I would probably, glass more. But where I go is so thick, you can't really glass. You gotta hike through there. That's the type of hunting I prefer that. I find more animals and thicker stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just pretty much manzanita berries and juniper berries where I'm at.
Okay. All right. What activity have you seen so far this year for bear? I know you had one photo so far that you and I were talking about previously when I was kind of getting ready to buy my tag and stuff, but have you captured any others so far or seen anything else?
No, I haven't got one yet. In fact, I went out just this past weekend and I was hoping for my first. They usually show up in my area mid to end of April is when they start showing up. And what's weird is I always thought they came from up high down lower, and they may do, but the last couple summers I've been getting them really, really lower than where I usually get them in the spring first. So I don't know if that's like a young male crossing the mountain range and he's going to lower elevations to get over to another spot, and I'm getting on camera. I don't understand it. I still don't know a lot about these bears. I'm trying to learn as much as I can. I shot 4 with a rifle years ago, and for the last 3-4 years I've been trying to get one with a bow, and I've yet to get one with a bow in the spring. And I don't know. I can't figure them out. I hear they do hibernate. I hear they don't. I hear they just hang out in a certain area during the wintertime and don't travel much. So like I said, I'm still trying to learn, and figure them out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. That ever ever going, puzzle that you're trying to put all the pieces together and everything.
Right.
For trail cams, what's your strategy when it comes to targeting bears in the spring, and how can someone new to bear hunting get started and find bears on cam?
I would suggest go out and work trails, just hike all over the place, look for scat. For me, it's anywhere from 5,500 elevation up to 7 is where I go down here in southern Arizona. And you will find it. If you know what you're looking for, you'll find it. And once you find it, set cameras up, on the trails wherever you find scat, and then go from there. That's exactly how I started. When I shot my first 4 bears with a rifle, it was way up it was actually in the Chiricahua Mountains, up in the forest. So it was kind of like I called a couple in from, varmint calling and just spot and stalk. But where I hunt now is like high desert. It's thicker. Trees aren't as big. I work trails now, and that's how I prefer to hunt them down here where I go now.
Yep. Yeah. Bears have a huge range variation in Arizona when it comes to where they live, from high 7,000s, to low elevations, like sub 3,000. Sometimes you'll see them way down low. Or those ones are better known as pear bears, is what I've heard thrown around, for the prickly pear fruits that they love to eat. But, what was, say again, that specific elevation gap that you would personally suggest people start to look at to get bears on camera, and then what you typically have the most luck with?
Like I said, between 5 and 7. That's down here in southern Arizona. It may be completely different up north, even to the east. But say south of Tucson, down by Sierra Vista.
Yep.
Those are the elevations, I typically find they're signed.
Yep.
That's where I find them. But then again, I have seen them, and I've also got them on pictures lower. So it's, like I said, it's hit and miss. But 5 to 7 is what I usually work.
Perfect. Yeah. And so for those of you that are listening here on the podcast, go over to my blog and look up the article that I wrote on e-scouting, and bust out a topographical map, and then find units near you that host that specific elevation gap of 5 to 7, and start looking for food sources, which is that manzanita, junipers for bears, and then for natural springs as well. Start marking those on your maps and everything. And flatline maps is what I prefer. They do a great job at marking all that stuff and then showing the topographical. But that's where you'll have a good chance then of getting those activities for the spring bear.
And see, in those elevations, in my spots, they're only there from the end of April till probably the beginning of October. They do not come through there again until the following year, about the same time. It's almost like clockwork. I think that maybe it's the food. They come down to those elevations for the food and the water. But that's just in my area. It may be completely different 60 miles away,
Sure. Now, are they staying in that range early spring all the way through fall, or do they change it up in the fall?
I don't know where they go in the fall. That's the thing that confuses me. I assume they go higher because winter's coming.
Huh.
But I've had cams higher, and here's the strange thing. Where that place I told you about, Jurassic Park, that was really high. I would get them up there in the summer, middle of the summer, but I'd also get them down at 5,000 foot elevation. So I don't know if the bears, some of them come down lower and hang out for the summer, and then go back up to the other bears that are higher, and there's bears that are higher throughout the summer. So this is what confuses me about the bears in my area. There's some that come low for the summer, and then there's some that stay high for the summer. So I don't understand it. And I get different bears high than I do low. So this is how I know this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You've got a myriad of critters that you capture across the board, and you've almost dubbed a specific day to each animal where you'll drop all of your latest content for each species, or you'll do like a burst of content per species. And so far you've got Cody Monday, Of course, there's the infamous Tuesday, and now you've started Lion Thursday. Is there anything else coming in the future?
Maybe if I get a job running trail cameras and I get paid for it, then I'll have one every single day.
Hey, there you go.
You know, I try to stick at least with the Cody, because not all the time, but I pretty much always get Codys on one of my cams throughout the week or two. And a lot of people like the Coda Mondays, even on non-hunting groups, just trail cam groups and stuff. They love those Coda Mondays. Actually, a guy suggested the Mountain Lion Thursday on one of the hunting groups, and I thought, oh, that's brilliant. I got to go with that. But the problem with lions is I get so stoked when I get lion videos or pics that as soon as I get home from checking my cabs, I post them, and if it's on Thursday, then I'll say, oh, it's Lion Thursday. But yeah, I'd like to do other ones, but there's nothing real consistent throughout the year other than really Coda Mondays that I can bank on, for sure doing it on that day. So it's hit and miss because, like I said, nothing's 100% with trail cameras, but the Coda Mondays, I do get quite a few of them. And, I don't know if you've ever seen one, but I get a lot of possums.
I've seen him at my dad's. He lives in Black Canyon City, right along the Awafria, and he's got possums, he's got ringtail cat, and he's got a ton of raccoons.
Oh, that's cool. I thought about doing a possum day because they actually raid my cameras more than any other animal.
Really?
And they're pretty neat. And at first, I don't want to post this. And the funny thing is, when I post the possum videos, especially on my Instagram, people go crazy with the likes on them, and it blows my mind because I'm not, really tuned into a possum. I don't find it amusing. It's neat, but it's not my number one animal. But people love it.
Yeah, they're pretty well known. So it's something that across the board, and they're pretty quirky too. They've got kind of a funny personality and stuff. So
yeah, exactly.
But you've got an abundance of Codys down there in Southern Arizona. The amount of Cody Monday stuff that you post is just it's off the charts, and we're gradually getting more and more here in Arizona. I've got my first one on trail camera, I don't know, probably earlier last year, and it's pretty far north. What are we supposed to be looking for when it comes to Coda Mondays and their habitat and food? What have you noticed?
Well, once again, down here, the elevation is different. I would imagine the elevation up your area is a lot higher. I get most of my Coda Monday pics and videos in mesquite thickets, like down in the boondocks, in wash areas. But I also get them in some of my bare spots that are kind of rocky and thick, a higher elevation. It does vary, but I kind of, throughout the last few years, figured out places where I'll always get Codys. Certain washes, certain areas. Once I get them, they come through all the time. That's what I was saying. I'm almost guaranteed always getting them on my cameras in certain spots.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the one I got, I want to say it was probably between like 4,000 and 5,000 feet elevation. Pretty rocky terrain, definitely, canyons and stuff. Do you notice, are they kind of like javelina in the sense that they'll run wash bottoms and stuff like that?
Well, in my cams, or on my cams, yeah, they're always foraging, cruising, looking for, whatever it is to eat. I would imagine like insects and stuff. And so when I get them on cams, even if I just get one, I'll put a few cams there, and then they'll come by usually at least once a week, cruising through a certain area. So I think in a sense you can pattern them, but then again you can't, because sometimes I don't get them. But most of the time I do get them coming through the same areas, looking for food with the group. What's really awesome though is if you are getting them, try to get a camera there late August, because you'll get the nanny coming through with the babies if the whole herd comes through. often on your cam, and that is phenomenal. That's my favorite time of year, is to get the baby coatimundas on camera.
Yeah, I've seen some of your videos and the photos that you've posted of the little ones, and it's pretty cool. I'll have to see if you'll let me repost one of those to our Instagram. I can blast you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
In what specific ways have you seen your trail cam game evolve over the past year? So what things are you doing differently now that you weren't necessarily the last time that we had you on the podcast?
I do set up cams, on certain trails that I get real nice things. I'll special, like a lion or, an animal I don't get often. What I do is I'll set up 3 or 4 cams, aim the same direction, but from different angles for when they come through again, so I can get better pics. Recently, I just got some mountain lion videos, and if you watch the videos closely, you'll see in the background a camera on a rock or a tree or something. And then when you look at the other video from a different angle, from a different camera, so the color and everything will be kind of different, and the scenery is different, but it's the same place. You'll see the same thing. You'll see a camera in the background. So this way, I don't miss anything. Many times I've set up 1 or 2 cams, and one cam will get something, or I've set up 4 or 5 cams, and only one cam will get something. And I'm like, how do the other cams not get pictures of it? Well, it happens. But I'll set a bunch up. That way I'll get every angle. Then I'll get 2 or 3 different videos of the same thing, but it looks like it's a completely different place.
Yeah, yeah. And that makes you...
And I love going low on my cameras. So many people put them high, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, because I started like that. But when you have it low and the animal comes down by it, it's just like in your face. And to me, I like that better. That's more of an attractant, It just looks better to me, and it just like going to the zoo, if you're 60 yards from the animal, you can see it. But if you're 3 foot from it, you get that close view. And to me, that's just so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes you wonder, though, too, like how many times, if we're setting up just one cam in a spot and we don't have those multiple cams getting multiple angles, it makes you wonder how much stuff we miss in the long run that is going on around it.
Oh, I know. Well, in fact, yeah, exactly. My buddy was, we got a bunch of cams right out there now for our bear spots. We're waiting for our first bear pick. He's on the west side of the mountain. I'm on the east side of the mountain. And we were just talking about that. If we do get one bear pick, when we first start getting them, it'll be slow, but we're like, who's going to get it first? And, if we do get one, it doesn't mean there's bears everywhere, but because we haven't got one, it doesn't mean the bears aren't there, because we don't have thousands of cameras everywhere to cover every trail, every creek, So yeah, I always wonder what I do miss, and there's so much out there that I'm sure I'm not getting. Mm-hmm. But that's the fun of that's the drive I have, of doing the trail cam thing is trying to get as much as I can out there that people don't see.
Yep. You mentioned earlier you just had an infatuation with lions, and it seems like you've been getting a ton of lions on your cams lately. Have you started targeting lions specifically, or is this a different area that's just heavily saturated?
I'll be honest with you. A lot of my spots, I'll get the odd lion maybe once a month, maybe twice a month if I'm lucky. Lately, they've been coming by all the time, and I've got a few new spots where they've just popped up. I don't know what it is. Maybe there's more of them now, or they're coming by more right now for food. So they're working the trails more, maybe just this time of year. But I didn't notice this as much last year. So I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you what, this year is a weird year. I'm seeing a lot of different stuff on trail cams this year that I haven't since I've started. Definitely more animals. Maybe I've gotten better at choosing my trails. I don't know. But it's definitely different this year. That's why I'm really interested to see how the bears turn out when they start showing up. But yeah, the lions to me are sort of like, that long life dream of getting a jaguar. That's the next thing up from a lion. So when I get lions, I'm just like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And who doesn't like getting lions on their cams, But yeah, I don't know what it is. It's kind of odd. I've never gotten this many lions before, so it's a nice surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, getting a lion is super cool. In fact, the same spot that I got my first Cody, I got my first lion, 2 lions actually, and also 3 bears. So 3 bears, 2 lions, and a Cody all on one hole.
Is that a new spot for you?
Yeah, it's one that we've kept pretty quiet. I'll definitely never reveal the location, but yeah, it's been a new spot that we started checking out, and we've just kept it under wraps. I've shared some of the photos and stuff. I'm not afraid to share them because it's not very recognizable. But yeah, it's a new spot that we've been checking out. So we'll see what unfolds there as the season goes along.
Right. Oh, that's going to be exciting. Recently, each year I have a goal. Something I want to get that I haven't gotten. Like the beginning of this year, I wanted to get a javelina giving birth.
Oh, that's cool.
And lo and behold, I got it.
I saw that video. That was a super cool video. And all the little, are they called reds, the babies?
Yeah. Unfortunately, the camera had been out there for some time, and the batteries started going low. So at nighttime, when the video comes on, it only goes for a few seconds instead of 15 or 20 because the batteries are low. Now, during the day, it doesn't need to use, the infrared, so it's less battery usage, so it still did the long videos and pics. But when it gave birth early in the morning when it was still dark, I only got a few seconds of it, but it just blew my mind because I was like, that's what I want to get this year, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to get it, and I got that. My other goal this year is to get a gold turkey down here in southern Arizona with baby chicks that have just been hatched.
Oh, there you go. That would be super cool.
That would be really cool to get on video. Last year I found a nest, but it was right after the eggs had hatched. I wish I would have found it before the eggs were hatched because I could have had cameras set up for it, but I was a little bit too late. But
that would be
that's
super
my goal
cool
this year.
Yeah, get a cam set up on a nest and get them hatching. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm careful about what I do because I don't want to booger anything or mess up nature's way.
Yep.
So I try to do things to where they don't get bothered by it. But I've been pretty fortunate. A lot of the places I go and set up cameras, I've never had issues with animals not returning or what have you. Especially with bears, I hardly ever get bear attacks on my cameras, and I hear about. And I've got a few people, buddies that get their cameras messed up all the time by bears, and I hear about it from other hunters. But I've been fortunate of that. So, and if the animals got spooked by my cameras or my scent, I wouldn't get nothing, So I don't know what it is. Maybe they're used to me in these areas year after year, and I'm like one of them. They don't mind.
Right. Yep. What are some pointers that you can give to those who are starting to target predatory species as far as cams go? So what type of terrain or techniques are you using specifically towards capturing like lion activity and bear?
Nothing really. I do all the same with all the animals. Even with turkey. I get so much throughout the year on trails. And it's just a matter of, if anything, the one thing I'd recommend is be patient. I'm impatient, and I find that out later. If I don't get stuff for a while, I'll pull the cams. Then I'll put them back a couple months later. All of a sudden, I get all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, oh, I should have left it there. Because I only have so many cams, I'm moving them around because I'm always finding new areas. I'm like, oh, I got to check this place out and put cams. I'll pull them from one spot, put them to another. And in the meantime, the old spot had all kinds of stuff going through there, and I find that out later when I put the cameras back. It's hit and miss. I just, I go check them, and it's like, boom. The only thing I can guarantee in my spots is, certain times of the year, the bears are going to come through on certain trails that I know of, and those are a guarantee pretty much every year, Other than that, the javelina trails, that's another guarantee. But once again, at certain times of the year, and the same with the javelina beds. They're not, there throughout the year. They'll do a few months in that area. They'll leave for a month or two, come back. They go back and forth, and I think they move in their areas for food and water different times of the year. That's why they've got their big territory, the territory that they hang out in, but they work different areas of it throughout the year because of food and water. That's what I've learned.
Okay. Do you have any tips or suggestions on placing cams where there may not be any trees? So specifically speaking of like rock outcroppings or anything like that, have you done any of those placements yet?
Yes. In fact, I take a lot of paracord with me because the bungees and the straps on the cameras aren't big enough to go around rocks, so I can take some videos, of rocky areas where there is no trees. That's what I do. I'll get a big rock, and if I can't find one, I'll roll one over, from, close by and set it up by a trail or an area I know they're crossing. And I'll strap the camera to the rock and do it just like a tree. You strap it on there, put something behind it to either aim it up, down, or straight out. That's what I do for rocky areas. I actually like rocky areas because a lot of animals will come out. When you look on a hillside, you'll see all the trees and you'll see little open spots. Most of the time, there's rocks around those open spots, and those animals do cross through there, and I get a lot in rocky spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a fairly nasty canyon that's just got a huge gouge. I mean, it just looks like a giant den, basically, and it's super nasty to climb up to, so I haven't done it yet. But there's nothing but rocks around it. And I'm like, man, I want to go up there and put a camera so bad because I know there's got to be something coming in and out of this just dark hole in the side of the mountain. So that's a goal that I have.
You could also take something up there with you. Take a rock or I've done this a few times. Like I'll find a dead tree stump that's, a foot and a half roundish. I'll pick it up, take it with me, and when I find a place like that where I don't have any rocks or nothing to attach the cam to, I'll attach it to that and then place it. And it looks like, everything else that's around there. And most of the time, like I said, I'll have a lot of animals come up and sniff my camera like they know it's new, but it's something to place the cam on,
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great tip. What new brands of cams have you added to your repertoire since the last time we talked? I know you've used some, I think, Wild Game, Bushnell, and then a couple off brands, but anything else, anything new?
No, actually, I haven't gotten any new cams lately. Just the same old cams. I have actually gone cheaper with the batteries. I actually get my batteries on Amazon now. I used to always go with Duracell, and you pay for them. But I've been going with the cheaper batteries, and they're pretty much the same from what I've seen. You can get them cheaper on Amazon, and nothing new on the cameras. I'm using the same old cameras. I wish I had another 10, 15 cameras, but no, they're just, and the thing about the cameras is I like them all, but they all have their ups and downs. There's something with every camera that just, isn't 100%. But so far, the wall game, I like the wall game because of the quality of the picture for the video and the pictures. But the problem with the wall game, the Terra 12s that I have is the videos are so short. And here's another thing about the cameras. Depending on what area you're in, depends on if you want a wide angle or a straight on angle with your lens. The wild games are straight. They're not real wide. And then I've got some other ones that are wide. So depending on if you got a wide area or a small area, that's another thing to consider when you set up cams. You don't want a wide area cam in a real thick place because you'll get a lot of foliage triggering the camera.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely. Especially if you're running trails and stuff, it might not be productive to be running a super wide angle because it'll probably be getting set off with, limbs moving and stuff like that if you're trying to shoot down like a narrow corridor.
Yeah, and I'm always trimming, especially when I got new spots, even old spots, stuff's growing after I pull at the grass in front. I go about 8 foot out, and something, a lot of guys forget about is overhanging trees. They'll worry about everything on the ground, but they'll have a limb that's hanging. And I do it sometimes too. I go check my camera 2-3 weeks later, and I got like 200 pictures of nothing. And what it is there's a lane with the wind that comes down and triggers the camera, but when I set it up, the limb was high enough, but the wind will blow it just enough to, trigger the camera. And then you got all these pictures of nothing, and shadows too. Shadows are a killer, and there's not much you can do about it. What I do, if I have a camera that's getting a lot of shadow pictures, I'll move it a foot or two to the left or all the way on the other side of the trail, and try it over there. It's trial and error,
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. In a recent photo that you posted of a mountain lion, you had put a caption that you wished the lion was walking towards the camera versus walking away from it. And you had talked about this a little bit earlier too, where in situations like this, you'll leave multiple cameras up. Can you just deep dive a little bit more about how you go about doing that? Are you making sure that each camera is out of sight of the other one, or do you not really care? What do you find is typically the best? Is it like just two facing opposite of each other, or three, or what's a setup like that kind of look like?
Well, most of my cams on trails are looking down it. So I'm always hoping that when the animal comes walking, they walk towards the camera, so it looks like it's walking right up to it. But you can't predict which direction the animal's going to walk down the trail. I don't like seeing another trail cam of mine in the background. I do try to hide them, and sometimes I forget. I get excited when I find a spot that got a lot of sign. I'll set up a cam one direction and then another cam the opposite direction, and I'll totally space that you can see both cams in the video, or the other cam in the video. But sometimes what happens, like with bears, when they come walking through, they take up the whole screen, and by the time the video ends, the bear is just leaving the screen, so you don't really see the camera in the background. I go for that natural look. I try not to make it look like I got cameras all over the place.
Sure.
I don't like cameras in the background, but if I get them, and half the time I don't even notice them, but when I'm watching the video, because I'm so into the animal I got on the camera, I didn't even realize I had a camera in the background. But I just personally, I don't like having other cameras in there because it takes away from that wild look for me.
Yeah, and honestly, man, I think that's why everybody loves your content so much too. Is just because it's just got such a raw, natural setting feeling, and just when you watch your stuff, it's like you're down on the animal's level. You're already on their travel corridors, and you're seeing just like pretty much the most authentic content that you can get. And that's why your stuff is, so much elevated above everybody else's, is because it's just got that raw element to it. So
yeah, the thing is, I get messages daily from people, and it's flattering. It really is, because I just do this for fun. I'd love to get paid. I love a camera company to sponsor me, or and a shout out to any camera company out there. If you want me to use your cams, look at my stuff, and I'll definitely use your cams, and the thing is, I don't know. I try to get something different from everybody else, but a lot of people contact me and say, how do you do this? How do you do that? All I get is grass, and this. How do you get these animals? I've been doing this for 4 years now, and I'm still not happy with what I'm doing. I'm still trying to outdo what I'm doing. I got a leg and a head and a butt in the beginning for years, and I was over the moon about that. But this time, at this point of me doing this now, I want to get, things that aren't, ever gotten, like, how Elena giving birth, baby turkey chicks, a jaguar, maybe a mom lion with cubs. And it's so hard because we can't bait or use any attractant in the state. So all I have is trails and water sources. And considering that's all I have, I've done pretty well. But I'll tell you what, Stephen, I've put so much time into this. And when I watch a video and a picture, I'm studying it. How can I make this better for next time? How can I make this better? So when I go back out there, I'll move a camera a foot or two, maybe 8 foot, put another camera, get a different angle. I'm always striving to get something that nobody else has gotten and a different view of it. That's the goal for me on doing all of this. Because just going out and getting a picture, I want more than that. And that's what I got in the beginning. But I've worked my way up to where I'm at now. And I still want to go, another mile with it. There's got to be more, to it than just getting an animal walking down the trail. I want to make it exciting. I want to get stuff people don't get, don't see. And that to me is the drive.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're running cams in an area, how are you deciding proximity? So you've got some like single cams over here, one cam over here, a cam here. You've got one of your, like, we'll call it a camera trap or your camera multiple setup over here. How do you decide proximity? Is it just based only off of trails, or do you ever sit there and think like, gee, this is kind of close to another setup, I need to move a little bit further? So how do you decide all that?
Well, every angle's different. So like the 2 lion videos I just got last weekend, one camera was facing the other, is about 20 feet away. But the vegetation behind each camera was different. One was rocky and the other one had more grass and trees. So it looked like 2 different places. And once again, when I watch the videos of animals that I get on there, I'll notice things like that. I've got a pool spot where bears often go to. A lot of animals actually go to it, but in the summer, it's just the bears show up and lions. One side of it is all grassy with trees, and the other side is big old boulders that kind of go down into the pool. So I can have one camera up on the rock aiming down, and one camera down at the bottom, the creek in the grassy area, aiming up at the rock. So I'll get 2 different angles at the same spot. And these are by accident that I find these. It's just by watching my videos and looking at my pics that I'll notice things like that. And then, like I said, it's never ending with wanting to get something better. You're always thinking of different angles, different directions to get the animal, in a different place, but at the same spot. It's like I said, it does my head in sometimes when I think about how into it I get, but that's the fun of it.
Yep. Here's a challenge for you. We'll see if you can do one of these. Is there any pools that have a limb directly over it that you could put a camera facing straight down, get an above, almost like an aerial view of a bear?
It's so funny you should say that. I actually do. And I thought about doing that. The problem is my cameras, the limb per se, would be too high up, and the animal would look so small down below.
Yep.
And you don't have a lot of room with these cameras nowadays. Anything beyond 8 foot, and you can see what the animal is, but it's not like being 3 foot away.
Yeah.
So if I had something up on this limb looking down, actually, you know what? I'm going to take you up on that. I'm gonna at this spot. This spot I call it my bear Kong's pool. It's a big pool he likes to go to. When I go back there in a week or 2, I'm going to set a cam up high, looking straight down, and if he comes and swims in that pool, I'll have that aerial view you were talking about. Yeah, I've often thought about putting them up high in trees on trails to get that straight down look. Mm-hmm. The problem is I actually did that on a trail, I don't know if it was last summer or the summer before, and when the animal walked down the trail, he walked by so quick, all I got was the tail end of him. Yeah. I didn't get him walking, for the whole duration of the video. It was just like a quick few seconds, and he passed. That was the only problem with it. So what I'll probably do is try a wide view camera. So I'll definitely take you up on that and see if I can get something.
That's awesome, man.
With a wide view looking straight down. That'd actually be pretty cool. But see, that's why I do this. I'm always looking for new things to do, and so if there's anybody out there that has suggestions, please contact me on Facebook, and I'll definitely try it. Some of my spots that I haven't tried already, and I'll definitely love to take people up on that for sure.
Heck yeah, man, that'll be awesome. I can't wait to see. Do you ever run time lapse mode with any of your cameras? I know some cameras offer it and some don't, but have you ever experimented with that at all?
No, nope. I just turn them on. I set up the pics or videos for however long they'll go for, and that's about it. But here's another thing: when I do videos, I often get asked, how do you know how long to do the video for? It's hit and miss. What I'll do is I'll do the video for 10, 15 seconds, see what's in the area. Next time I go check it, if I got stuff walking that area, I'll put the video longer because I know I'm going to get some good footage. But I don't want to waste the batteries on the camera if it's going to be there for a while, doing long videos when there's nothing really walking down that trail that time of year,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you, when you get to a spot, how do you determine whether you want photo or video? What makes you, I often find myself, in fact, this past weekend on Saturday, I was putting a camera up and I'm like, I literally sat there for probably like 2 minutes debating with myself as to whether I wanted photos or video. So how do you how can we help teeter one way or the other and make a final decision on that?
I think it depends on location. Like if I'm on a trail and I've got quite a bit of the trail in the camera, when I set it up to look down the trail, I'll do a video. If I've got a trail that turns and I see a lot of scat or, tracks or sign where it kind of bends and I know I wouldn't get a long video, and there's too much foliage further down for me to set up for video, I'll set it up on camera right there so I can get one quick shot of whatever it is and I'll be right up against the camera when it makes a turn. I prefer video. Now, don't get me wrong, I love pics, but it seems like everybody loves the videos better. Once again, when I post on, say, my Instagram, they go crazy when I post a 15-second video of a possum licking his paws and sniffing around. But when I post a lion pic on Instagram, I'll get half the likes, which is, I don't get that. So there's something about the video that people love.
Yep. Yeah, there definitely is. Yeah, video, it's probably just the motion and just the authentic experience you get seeing it kind of do its natural behavior and everything.
Right. Well, they get more out of the video regardless of what it is. But, it's like anything. It's fun watching something. But when you look at something just for a second, it's there and gone. But the video kind of lingers and it keeps you hanging on. And, maybe that's it. I don't know. But, yeah, it seems like everybody likes videos more. But I'll have certain cameras that don't take good video. Like I have one camera where it doesn't have time and date on the video, but it does on the picture. So I just use that camera for pics. So in the sense of that, that's kind of how I determine what camera I'm going to have pick and one video, depending on what the camera gives me.
Yeah. We've got a couple questions here on social media, and this one you've pretty much already answered, but maybe you can just hit it again for this person. His name's Noah Blauert, and it says, for someone's first time setting up trail cameras, what's the best advice as to where to set up?
Do not put them at water holes like cow tanks, places where a lot of hunters go, because you'll probably lose them, even if you do a lockbox. I love hiking. I love exploring. I'd go out to an area you're familiar with or not familiar with and find a trail, even a wash, a creek bed, look for sign and start there. That's what I do. That's what I look for. But the only thing I don't recommend is putting by water holes just for the sake of losing them. Yep.
Yeah, this, I think it was like a year and a half ago, I started changing that, where I found I'm near water holes, but I'm hitting the trails that they're coming into the water. So I've also kind of strayed away from that. Although I did put one on a spring recently, but that's a spring and not a water hole. So
yeah, if I find a water hole that's hot and I can tell by the tracks around it, they always got different game trails going to them. And I'll go about 50, 100 yards up one of the game trails. Because usually hunters, when they walk around, they're looking for sign at a water hole. They don't venture too far up the trails. Most of them just go around the bank and look for sign. So if you go up one of the trails and set up a camera looking down the trail, either away from the water hole or to the water hole, you're going to get something. And if you don't, find another trail around that water hole. Just keep moving it over and over and over. Because some animals favor trails certain times of the year, and some don't,
Yep. Dave AZ Hunter asked, how many cameras do you run?
I have 30, and I got 15 out right now. Nice. But if I had 200, I'd have 200 out right now.
Just as many as you can get.
the thing with me is I'm constantly moving them. I try to keep cameras in certain spots for the whole year that pretty much have activity throughout the whole year. But the spots that get slow certain times of the year, I'll pull. Then that's when I go find new spots, and I'm just constantly kind of like rotating the cameras. So yeah, I've got 15, 16 out right now, but I'm going to get the other 15 out soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got about 30, 31 cameras.
Now, is this when you're doing all these, changes in places and all that stuff? Do you keep like a journal or something, or do you write this all down somewhere? Or is it literally just all in your head?
No, I used to. It's funny because I got a buddy who never writes them down, and he's always calling me asking me to go help him find his cams because he forgot where he put them. It's so funny. Well, as soon as I get home, I kind of keep them in my head, but I have like a little list at my desk at home, and I'll write down and I'll name that area, like pool, 4 trails, washed with tall trees, and I'll put how many cameras there. So when I go down this list, I'll look at them, and I'll remember, what spots they are and how many cameras I got there.
Nice. And do you mark down even like what time of year you get certain species and stuff like that, or do you not go into that much detail for it?
No, I don't do that. What I do is throughout the year, I'm looking at my pics and videos that I've gotten previously, and I just look at the times and dates.
Okay.
And that kind of tells me. And I remember, because a lot of my spots I use year after year because they're great. It's hard for me to find new spots because a lot of my spots I've been blessed with getting a lot of good stuff there throughout the years.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pull them because I don't want to miss something. I did that when I first started doing this. I'd get impatient after a few weeks. I'm like, oh, there's nothing there, and put them back later, and I get all kinds of stuff. I'm like, oh man. But the problem is, you need a lot of cams to do that. If not, you got to pull them from one spot, put them into another.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But like recently, I know he's gonna think I'm crazy, but I know. Last year, swore he saw a jacaranda in southern Arizona when he was deer hunting with his son. And I recently went and put a bunch of cams in this area. And, I believe him. He's been a hunter all his life since he was a kid. And, he shot a lot of the animals we have. He knows what they all are. And he saw it 50 yards away and said it had short legs, looked like a dark cat, dark brown cat, and, a flat face, and in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we were talking really remote, and anyway, he told me about it, and of course, I was like, you sure it wasn't like Dakota Monday, and this and that, I gotta ask, and anyway, I went and put some camps, he showed me where the area was, and I haven't got anything there yet, I've got a lot of game, but no jacaranda yet, but I had to pull those cams, from somewhere else to go put there, because I don't have 200 sitting at home waiting to go out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we need to get you one of the cams that's got the solar panel on it too, so you don't really have to worry about the battery life, and that thing can just rack up content. So
yeah, a lot of people ask me if I use those cell ones, and it's I believe those are illegal, but I wouldn't. I've never been interested in those. They're expensive when they used to, when they first came out anyway. But
sure.
This is the whole point of do trail cameras, is to go out there and explore and find the places to set the cams. If I set the cams, came home, and they showed up on my phone or computer or however those worked back when you could use them, that wouldn't be fun to me. The whole fun of it is going to check them. And while I go check them, I always come across new places. So that's part of the game for me, is going to check them and the fun part of it. And I love it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's just, it's almost in and of itself, it's almost like shed hunting, whereas like you're out there, you're having fun, you're exploring, you might find an antler, you might not. And in this sense, it's you're out there, you're exploring, you're having fun, you might get something cool, you might not, and you just never know. So it's a blast. It's another little side trail from hunting itself that we get to enjoy.
Absolutely. It's part of the exploring. and that's the fun of it. And that's how I find a lot of my spots. They're on accident. I'll go check a cam that I've been checking for months, and I'll walk in a different way, and I'll come across something that I never knew was there, was, less than 100 yards from where my cams are.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, I got another spot, That's the fun of it. And that's how I find a lot of my places.
Yeah. Have you gotten any porcupines?
Oh, it's funny you should say that. That and the badger are the two things I've never gotten.
I swear to God, I saw one this past season, and I don't know. It was either that or it was a skunk standing on its end with its tail raised, but I didn't smell anything foul whatsoever. But all I saw was something a little bit smaller than a javelina, definitely bigger than a skunk, and it looked like giant quills standing up on end. But I don't know if it was in like super thick stuff, like a thicket that javelina would run through, and in their little tunnels. But
right.
I've heard we have them here in Arizona, but I've only heard of them being in pine country, and I was in junipers there. So I just curious to see if you got anything or not, or if I'm just crazy.
No, that's awesome. You know what? In the 80s and 90s, I used to see them even in the low deserts.
Okay.
All the time growing up, I would see porcupines all the time. I haven't actually even seen a porcupine in 10 plus years. I would love to get one on video. In fact, on some of those trail groups I'm on Facebook, excuse me, they get them on video and cameras back east and up north all the time. And whenever I see them, I'm like, oh man, I'd love to get a porcupine. But I don't even see them, let alone get them.
Sure.
I don't know what's happened to them. Maybe they're, less of them now than there was 20, 30 years ago. I don't know. But the badger too. I've seen a few badgers out and about, but that's another thing another goal I'd like to pursue this year is getting badgers on camera. And see, that's the thing. It's not just different angles of animals and different areas, but it's different types of animals I'd like to get. Not that I get tired of bear, lion, or deer, or javelina, but when I post these pictures, a lot of people talk about how I get a big variety. And I'm thinking, God, I haven't even hit the iceberg yet. There's so many animals I haven't even got, like the kit fox. I've never gotten a kit fox, but I don't think there's anywhere I go anyway.
Yeah. Well, you never know. I mean, they might just pop up one day, and like you said, you got the jaguarundi or whatever that you're going after, man. I mean, that's cool that you're finding these, new species in different areas and stuff. So
yeah, that's the fun of it. You doing trail cams, that feeling of when you go to check them, you just don't know what you're going to have, and you're hoping for this, you're hoping for that, and when you get something you're not expecting, it's just like, it's out of this world, man. It's so exciting. So exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. For those of you that haven't yet, go and subscribe. Check out Jason Miller's YouTube channel. He started one where he's done some tutorial videos, and then he just does some general content of like his card pulls and stuff like that. But his tutorial videos are phenomenal. Obviously, you get some tutorials here through the podcast, but I really suggest that you go and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Just type in Jason Miller Outdoors, and that'll pull up. And yeah, he just does those tutorials. Those are great episodes. And you can also get his content over on Instagram if you check him out at Miller0007. So that's 3 zeros and 7 at Miller0007. Or he posts all the time too on Facebook. You can find him. He blasts all of his stuff in our private Bowhunting AZ Facebook group. Just type in Bowhunting AZ. You'll see the group itself. Just answer a couple questions and join. And you posted your Cody Monday stuff today, I think, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's always great. And hopefully, believe it or not, that hole that I was talking about, I left my trail cam there. It's been there for like almost a year, so I need to hopefully it's still there. I need to go back and get it.
Oh, you haven't checked it yet?
I've checked it once, and then it's just, this place is so remote and it's so gnarly to get to. I have to have my friend Jake take me there with his 4x4 Jeep because there's no way, it's so hard to get to. And it's been there for probably almost a year. I mean, I know the batteries are dead. I hope it's still there and that no one else has found it and taken it, but I'm super excited to see if there's anything on, or what is on that.
Oh, you haven't checked it yet?
I have checked it once, and then it's just, this place is so remote and it's so gnarly to get to. I have to have my friend Jake take me there with his 4x4 Jeep because there's no way, it's so hard to get to. And it's been there for probably almost a year. I mean, I know the batteries are dead. I hope it's still there and that no one else has found it and taken it, but I'm super excited to see if there's anything on, or what is on that.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be nice. Oh, I can't wait to see what you got.
Yeah, we'll be checking that out pretty soon for sure, especially with bear season here. It's time to, I've got a color phase. I'll send you the photo. I've got a cinnamon color phase that's just awesome.
You just recently got it?
No, this was, I'll have to check the timestamp on it, but it was pretty close to this time last year.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Just early spring, got them coming up. I've got that was when I got my first couple bears, my first couple mountain lions, and I've got a color phase on there, and I've also got another black bear that's taking a dip in the pool, eating some, like, it looks like he's chewing on algae or something green. He's pulling out of it and eating it, but.
Oh, I got to ask you, how did you feel when you got your first lion?
Dude, that was super cool. Well, two things. One, it was super cool. And the other one, it was a little eerie because it was like, man, I'm never going to walk to that water hole without looking over my shoulder occasionally. Like,
that's how I feel about my bear spots when they start showing up. Every time I go to check them, I'm always looking over my shoulder.
Yeah, especially that one hole having like 5 different predators on it. I'm like, man, like it's cool, but it's a little eerie at the same time. But no, it's just out of this world to see that pop up. And I didn't expect that at all. I thought it was just going to be some deer, maybe a couple elk. And, I didn't expect anything crazy like that. And so, yeah, just cloud 9, basically, when you see something like that come up.
Yeah, like recently I just found a new spot. And I found some ruts from last January on these trees. And I set a cam up there thinking, man, if I can get, a few nice bucks through here before they shed here in the next month or so, that'd be great. And I went and checked it, and actually got coyotes and a lion there.
Nice.
No deer yet, which is funny. So it's like you said, it's you sometimes you set out for an area, in a spot that you're expecting to see one thing, and when you go to check your camera, you get total surprise.
Yep, absolutely. That's the best, and that's why we do it.
Exactly.
Heck yeah, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I really appreciate your time, and looks like we've been going over a little over an hour here. So I really appreciate you dropping so much knowledge and helping us evolve our trail cam game and just growing and doing this. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I'll do these anytime you wish, anytime you want.
Heck yeah, man.
I got lots of stories, and yeah, I'll definitely be posting all my stuff as usual. So, yep, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sounds good. And hey, I know we all look forward to seeing what happens with your bear tag. So we'll definitely have a follow-up after that.
Yeah, sounds good. Perfect.
All right, brother. Well, you take care in the meantime.
All right, you too. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Bowhunting AZ podcast.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Bowhunting AZ.
If you would, please smash those 5 stars for us on iTunes and leave us a little review. It'll really help us out.
Good luck on your next hunt. We'll catch you in the next episode.
See ya.